Hey there, welcome to Above Board with Candor Path. We are so excited that you're here. You've got me, Rich, and also John. John, what's going on, my friend?
Yo, we just
You
hit
did
50,000 downloads on our podcast. Big event,
50,000.
baby.
Wow. Do you know if you got $1 for every one of those downloads, that's like $974,000.
That's not how math works,
Well, you know what? That's how math works in my world. Welcome to Above Board with Candor Path, where you are joining us after we have just hit a major milestone of 50,000 downloads. And last time I checked, I think we're still in the top 1% of business podcasts, if I may be so bold as to brag.
I just need to tell you, I just saw this video online, and it was this person talking on a podcast, and she goes, if you save $1 a day every day for the next year, you'll have $30,000. That was the quote. That was legitimately the quote. And I'm sure she was going somewhere with it, but before I could hear the rest of her reasoning for what crazy thing she was saying, it stops. This other guy comes in on the video, and he does the times table. He's 365 times 1, and you just see him write 0, 0, 0, 0, 30, and he's like 30,000. Thumbs up the camera, and it was just so funny because it's like anyone can say literally anything online and disseminate it now. You just don't even
that's
know.
what
I mean, that you know that's not true, but
okay. So while this might not be the subject at hand, you know me now. You just opened the door. So what did you? Is there a premise behind this? Is she talking about compound interest? Is she?
That has to be it. I didn't follow it because I got bored and just skimmed and scrolled to the next thing. But I think the premise would have been time value money, but also like what percentage rate that must be to go from $1 a day to 30,000. And I got
This
bored.
sounds like something that like Alex Hormozy would look at and just like rip to shreds in like 30 seconds.
He's got his nose strip on and he's doing his thing.
You know,
he's normalizing nose strips. He's normalizing nose strips, by the way. I worked out the other day and I ran and I left it on, and people were looking at me weird, and I'm like, all right, it's going to be normal in like another year.
Because I might have missed this, because I do consume his content, because I read his book that he just put out. He's got a new book coming out. I read his book. I find him to be a fascinating person because he breaks down complicated things in such a great way. And I don't know how his mind works, but he just cuts through nonsense. But I have missed the explanation and I'm sure I could Google it very simply and look at it. But does he explain why he does that? Because he's the only person I see doing that. I know what.
Let me take a sip from my gallon first before I answer that question.
That is the biggest water bottle I have ever seen in my life. Like
sometimes I forget to have like
the state of California would probably fine you because that's too much water right now.
It's a gallon. It's healthy. So I've never heard him talk about it.
No,
and I do think he wears it for effect. It's like something to talk about. We're talking
he's big
about
on
it.
Brand.
We're 3.5 minutes into our podcast, and we've spent a minute talking about his nose strip. So it's working.
That's true.
I would guess that it has to do with, we've talked on the show a lot about breath work and the importance of, and there's like this whole thing. Have you researched this, like mouth breathing? Like it's so important to breathe through your nose and not through your mouth.
Nose breathing is more important. I when I work out, I just breathe through my nose.
So I think it's helping him do that when he's working. I do one every night when I go to bed. Jackie buys me these nose strips. It's like such a great gift. I love it when it's like sitting on my nightstand and she's like, I got you new nose strips. I know we sound like we're 70 years old.
Send me the link.
Every single night, baby. Breath strips or whatever they're called. It's like a big brand.
If it's okay to say while we're talking in the middle of a podcast, my sound good?
You sound great. No, you sound good.
I'm looking at the little waveform on the thing, and your waveform's bigger than my waveform. Mine are very, very like tiny little waveforms.
Post-edit normalizes that.
I just want to know, because I don't want people to be thinking like, why is John talking to himself?
They might be. And you know what? Text us. Give us that feedback if that's the case. You can text us.
I love it.
Should I drop the text line right now? Should I do that?
So exactly. So now that we've gotten completely off brand, so we now know that if you save $1 a day, you make $30,000, right? I have to go find this.
We will.
We are big on you use nose strips, which you've never shared with me, and now I feel like I need nose strips.
Sleep mask, nose strips. I mean, nope. I don't
need sleeping masks. Here's why I don't need sleeping masks. John Kennedy himself, came over to my house with his drill and helped hang up blackout curtains in my room, which
Oh
till this
yeah.
day is the greatest gift you've ever given me was the gift of your time and your skills because I sleep so much better now because my room is so dark.
I gave you that drill also.
You did, and it caught on fire 2 weeks ago, and I had to buy a new drill. I did. I caught on fire, then I bought a drill, and I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody where you buy something online. I should do a video of what I thought I was gonna get and what I got. The drill looked really great, and it said 20 volts, and I thought that was saying how big the drill was, and the drill that came is, like, basically an electronic screwdriver. It's so not impressive compared to your drill that caught on fire. But anyway, we worked that drill into the ground. We wanna talk about something today, which is something that has nothing to do whatsoever with anything that we've just talked about for the last 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Ooh, it just hit 555. That's an angel number. Do you know about angel numbers?
No.
Okay, I don't know if I
What
wanna
does
spend
that
time on
mean?
that.
I always like when it's like 11:11 on the clock. I'm like, "Oh, make a
Do you
wish."
see
That's like a
if
thing.
no, if you see 1111, that means that's an angel. I'll explain that on another podcast. That's we wanna do a podcast on a weird our own personal weird beliefs, superstitions, and compulsions and obsessions, because between John and I, that could be a 3-hour podcast, and I would imagine with Matt, do you think he has some? He has to. He seems like a
Well,
pretty
everyone does.
I
So
wanna know
the
Matt's.
varying degree of the superstitions are different.
They're varying
Mine
degrees.
is every night I have to spend probably 5 minutes. It's like borderline OCD checking every single lock in the house.
I do that.
You do that?
I can't
Ever
turn the
since
alarm
we
on.
had, and I check the fridge to make sure it's closed. Ever since we had the huge leak in our
The
home from the
flood.
fridge line, and then we
Yes.
flooded the house. Like I've never been able to get over it. So my superstition is like this routine every single night, and I have to. And I lay in bed, and if I don't do it, I can't go to sleep. I
I
know
check
he has to have them, and I will think of what his some of those are, and
I
I
check
will share
the
them.
garage to make sure the garage door is down. I check to make
Yeah,
sure the air condition isn't overflowing or flooding, and I check to make sure the garage door is locked, the door, the interior
we do
door.
the same things.
Yes,
Yeah,
and then there's multiple other things. But today we don't want to talk about that. This is a prelude to episode
we're trying to get
900.
away from that in today's podcast. In fact,
We want to talk about how in your busy life, how sometimes it is super important to schedule spontaneous activities. Now, those two words might run counter to each other, scheduling and spontaneity. However, in your busy world, in your busy personal life, in your busy business life, sometimes you got to schedule those things. So I would guess spontaneous activities probably don't speak so much to work life, business life. Like at least as I understand spontaneous activities, it seems more. Would you agree? We're going to kind of go more into like family, relationship, friendship,
yes,
social.
yes, yes, with the caveat that it helps you in those other areas of your life. And so this was a an idea that I think I had. I was actually like smoking cigars and drinking a bourbon one night,
Oh, you
and
shouldn't say
I
that. Your mom listens to this.
I know I love you, mom.
Sorry,
But
Mrs. Kennedy.
there was one night I'm sitting there and I was talking to Jackie and a friend, and I go, God, just life is so. There's just so many things that are on your priority list. We've got kids. We're going to events, sporting events, practices, busy with work, busy trying to work out, trying to drink a gallon a day, like all the things you're supposed to do for yourself. Somehow you sandwich that into your busy day. And I just said the comment. I'm like, I miss the days where it's like just a lazy Sunday, and we're like, oh, let's roll up to the beach. Let's do it. Not even that's possible. You got to pack. Everyone's got to have sandwiches. Kids get hungry in the car. There's just so many variables now at this stage of life that you have to think about. And so the sort of from that idea was like, you have to schedule the spontaneity. And if you don't, you'll just never have the opportunity to have it, because if tomorrow I want to do something, that's not going to happen. I have to plan a month from now to do the thing so that when I'm there on a Friday, I can be like, oh, cool, tomorrow I have this plan. We
So,
can be spontaneous tomorrow because I planned it a month
right,
and a half ago.
right. Well, and I think it's all about balancing the busyness in our lives with wanting to build into that busyness the fun things. I guess when we're saying schedule spontaneity, it's almost like you have to make room for it. You have to make
Yeah.
room for those things because if you don't, then they're not going to happen. right? And to your point, when you have family, when you have kids, when even when you don't have kids, when you have when you have a dog, you can't just go to the beach. Depends on your dog, right? Can your dog be left alone for 7 hours? How far is it to the beach? Is the dog going to pee on the floor? The dog has medicine that they have to take every 4 hours. Who knows? Whatever. So I think there's a part of it that what it does is it allows you to kind of balance your responsibilities with enjoyment in life. For example, what would you say would be an example of something that you would have to quote unquote that's spontaneous that you would have to schedule? I have some in my mind that I'm thinking of, but what would be an example of yours?
So I love going to the beach, and it's, I mentioned this already, but it's like being able to just get in the, like, Friday night, man, if tomorrow's a nice day, I'd love to just run up to the beach and go. And I think the biggest thing for me is spontaneity equals freedom. For me,
Mm,
being able to have that freedom within the room of my time, of my calendar, to say, "Hey, we're going to go do this thing that's sort of random and spontaneous," that equals freedom. And I don't get to taste that or feel that. And not that I'm not, obviously, like, I love what I do, and that type of thing, but it's just the commitments that we have. It starts to grind you down, and if you don't have that planned, I think that's really important. So for me, it's like a random, like, I want to just run up to the beach. Like, we want to take the kids to Disney today, and we, so we do a lot of things to try to set that in order, but it's all of it's really centered around planning. We're planning a month to 3 months, sometimes 6 months in advance, to do the thing that hopefully feels spontaneous when we go to do it. You guys are really, really good at date nights, for example. Like, I know that that's always been a big thing for you and Don. What are some examples for you of scheduled, planned
well,
spontaneity?
first of all, I just want to put something out there because we do have listeners that are John and I live, and Matt and I live in Central Florida. So when John just said spontaneously take the kids to Disney, to our listeners in Singapore and Paraguay and Montana and upstate New York and Cincinnati, that's not a spontaneous thing, but we're about 45 minutes away. So that is something that we can do. It
No, they had
costs.
this whole vision of how cool that was. Like, in their minds, maybe they thought I was getting on a private jet and flying directly into a private Walt Disney airport, and instead I just load down in my
Your mom van.
minivan and drive with crying kids for 45 minutes. But
Where
they
you
thought it
get
was, for a second, they thought it was cool until you just made it not cool.
and then what they
Thanks.
don't realize is you get there and you're there for you spend $900 and within 45 minutes, Ella's going, I want to go home. I want to go
Yeah.
swimming. I want to go play with Ava. Right? That's how it always
Who's
is.
crying more at the end of it, the kids or me? That's what I
You,
want to know.
you for sure. I think it helps me. Well, I will discuss exactly what we plan, and I will also get. Well, you brought up data. Let me just get to that. The people that manage my finances have gone through my budget, and so date night is now no
Tell me
longer
more.
every date night is no longer every week, and we have been very good about managing that and incorporating that into our budget. But Dawn and I definitely schedule regular date nights now, and the reason why that we do that is because it enables us to have couple time alone, romantic time alone, where we can gossip, where we can catch up, where we can talk about what we want to talk about, where we can eat some good food, where we don't have to clean the kitchen, where we don't. Dawn is a great cook, and bless her heart, she meal preps for me and she meal preps for Luke. So, she makes our protein and our rice and our vegetables, and she's just amazing. So it gives her a break, and also it gives me a break. So we plan that in so that we have some romantic time together, because I think couples, whether you have kids or not, whether you're living together or not, whatever, I think couples forget to build that in. And while certainly there's a lot to be said for, hey, go in the room. I've bought you a dress that just got delivered and it's laid out on the bed with some roses and a new perfume. And I'm going to blindfold you and take you to this particular. Actually, this is a really good idea as I'm talking this through. I'm going to do this. I know
Schedule it.
I'm doing this, man. But while that sounds great, that's not the reality of life. And I find now, this is maybe a little twist on this. I find that planning this quote unquote spontaneous things helps me overcome that decision paralysis. Do you know what I'm talking about? Here, let me give you the example. You be you, and I'll be Jackie, and you say to me, where do you want to eat tonight? Ready? Go.
Where do you want to eat tonight?
I mean, I don't know. Where do you want to eat tonight?
Oh man, that is the famous
Well, then what do
question
you
right
say?
there.
So say something back.
What do I say? I had a trick for this a while ago that worked twice. What did I do? No, 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 it worked twice, and then she caught on to it.
I know
I
what the
learned
trick
it from
was.
like TikTok or
The
something.
the
What was it?
trick was you asked her where she wanted to eat, and then you said, "Yes, that's where I wanna go." That's
Right.
what it is.
I
I know
think
I'm
that's
older
what
than
it
you, I've done this.
was.
Yeah, you say, "Where do you wanna eat, Jackie?" And she goes, "I don't know." And you said, "Well, if you could pick anywhere, where'd you want?" She goes, "I think I wanna go to Ruth's Chris." You go, "That's what I was gonna say."
Yeah.
But then what happens is, then it goes, "But that's a lot of money. I don't know. Maybe we should do, let's eat Mexican tonight." And you go, "That's great. That sounds great." "Well, I thought you said you wanted to eat at Ruth Chris." "No, but I'm fine with Mexican." "No, you're just saying that." And then it goes down that
I
road.
think that's what I feel like there was an adaptation to it, but that was basically what it was. And she caught on the second time because I'm never that agreeable to anything. So I think when I was so agreeable that it was just too suspicious. Too
"You're a mean
too
one,
suspicious.
Mr.
Yeah.
Grinch."
It's
I
all right.
find that it helps with overcoming the decision paralysis. Where we plan and we make the reservation at the restaurant, it's much harder to go through the effort of canceling the reservation and re-reserving when you're just like, we're going to Luma. We made the reservation. It's
Mhm.
at 7 o'clock. The babysitter's coming. We're set up. Then you just kind of go with it. You've already got it in your mind. And then I think it feels more natural. And I'll tell you what else works. I don't know about you and Jackie, but with my wife and I, she is more of the person that does the planning because, I travel a good deal and all this kind of stuff. I think she really enjoys when I say, "Oh, I made 2 reservations. I made one at Luma and one at, Ruth's Chris." And she's like, "Oh, you did?" I'm like, "Yeah, which one do you want?" And then she'll go, "Sushi Pop." And I'm like, "Great." But, then I'll say, "No, but that's good." She likes that initiative. She kind of likes that because it takes it off of her. But I think it takes away that analysis paralysis that I think happens, or decision paralysis rather, that happens with a lot of couples where you do that back and forth. If you've planned it, you've kind of already just built it into your mind already, unless you have this, tremendous swing in mood and you don't want to do it. So that's one thing. The other thing that I find that is that you can plan that's spontaneous, if you will, other than, date nights and activities with the kids, is planning at home kind of time. So the other day I said to the family, "Hey, today after dinner we're playing dominoes." I put that, that's what we're doing. And everybody's like, "Dominoes?" I'm like, "Yep, we're playing dominoes." And it was reluctant at first, and then everybody had the best time, and we were like challenging each other and making bets with Monopoly money, and then it got hilarious and it was a lot of fun. Now, that could have been a spontaneous thing where I could have just said, "Hey, do you guys feel like playing dominoes?" And then they'd have been like, I'm on the game with Riley." And Luke would have been like, I'm reading." And Dawn would have been like, "No, I want to watch Real Housewives of blah, blah, blah." But the fact that I scheduled it and just said we were doing it, it felt
Mhm.
like a spontaneous thing, but I announced it like it's happening today. And that was at like noon. And we finished dinner around 7, cleared the table, cleaned everything up. And I got out the dominoes and put them on the table and go, "Let's go." And everybody like dragged themselves to the table and we played for like 2 hours.
I would say that it's very purposeful and intentional when you do that, and then it's received very well to your family members. Like they, I'm using this in the form of like our spouses, but when you do that, not only did you plan a spontaneous moment, and so you ended up probably having fun doing it, but then it's appreciated by the other person. Like when you said with Dawn, she's usually the planner,
She
and then
is.
occasionally when you're the one that does it, I can only imagine how good that feels for her to know that you cared enough to be intentional enough to plan this spontaneous thing that wasn't spontaneous at all because you planned probably every element of it, but at least it felt like it was. And that's really important. I mean, I can't tell you how many times like we have young kids. Our kids are 3 and 6, so they're young,
Right.
and a month will go by in the blink of an eye, and we just look
That's
at
the
each other. We're like,
truth.
wow, we haven't had one single date night, just a couple hours to ourselves in a month. 4 weeks have gone by. We haven't done that. And that, that's when you're not being intentional and purposeful about it. And life's just kind of happening to you and you're rolling with the punches and you're doing stuff. And we're in the throes of it right now. My daughter's got a broken arm. Our kids are sick. everyone's sick at my house. And so it's like, we're looking at each other like we need that. Like we need that time. So anyway, scheduled spontaneity for me equals freedom all day long.
Well, and what I like about that is I think it gives us an awareness of the priorities in our lives. I think we misprioritize because society tells us to do so. I definitely spend a lot of time working. I spend a lot of time on my job. I spend a lot of time getting better at my job. I'm taking myself to Balloonie University. I've gotten a couple of books and a notebook, and I'm waking up early and going through this audiobook and writing notes and basically retraining myself to be able to do better at a certain aspect of my job that I've never done before. And that's a super important priority to me. But I wonder if I just hold up a mirror, do I spend that much time trying to be a better husband, a better father, a better friend? It's funny. Yesterday, this is just a weird kind of aside, and it'd be funny to hear how you'd respond. I don't remember what time it was, but I wanted to hang out with you. Like I just thought to myself, we might have been texting, but it wasn't that late at night. And I almost was going to say,
You don't want
well,
one my
now I
whole
know that your
household
house is
right
sick. Thank
now.
God I didn't, right? But I thought to myself, I'm going to text John and say, hey, can I come over and hang out for a little bit? And then I didn't do it. And then I thought about that today. Now, granted, y'all are sick, so again, I'm glad I didn't. But I thought about that today. I was like, what stopped me? And it was like, you're going to say no. You're going to feel obligated. You're tired from the day. I don't even want to, I'm low maintenance. I'll just come and sit in your living room and talk to you and joke around and make you laugh, play with your kids, have fun. But I just wanted to do that. And I thought to myself, what if I said to John, hey, Monday or hey, Saturday, Monday after work, can we just go for a walk? Let's like walk the dogs together, or let's just go for
Yeah.
a 2 mile walk, or why don't I just plan that as a friend? And so I think that, and sidebar, you'll tell me if you'll do that, but I think that that's something that we misprioritize. Where I do plan my work day, it's very planned. I've got a whole agenda for my work day. I've just,
Hmm.
as we're recording this, we've wrapped up our work day. It's at the end of a work day, and I can go through everything that I've checked off on my list, the calls that I did, the work that I did, the planning that I did, the creating content that I did, the writing I did. I'm in the process of finishing up a book, the editing I did, the social media
Hmm.
stuff that I did. And that's great. But the only thing that I really did that was relationship wise was early in the morning. My son and I went to the gym, which is a bonding time for us, which is great. I think the message of this podcast is, where are our priorities? And I think if you show me your calendar, if you show me your agenda, if you show me your day planner, you're going to show me your priorities. And I think mine are a little off. I don't know if you feel like yours are. I know you're super busy, but I also know you're probably very good at, from my observations on the weekends and stuff, you're always doing something with your kids. You're always, oh, we're swimming right now. When my daughter comes over to play with your daughter, it's like, swimming, or you're taking them to a theme park, or whatever. But I love this whole idea of planning these fun, quote unquote, spontaneous activities. It reminds me of a quote from, it's from Tina Fey, who pretty much everybody likes. Tina Fey said, say yes and you'll figure it out afterwards. Say
Hmm.
yes and you'll figure it out afterwards. It's like saying yes to these positive things, saying yes to these relationship building things. As much as you at Candor Path talk about saving money, there's also the emotional bank account. And are we investing enough in that with our people and with our time?
So you said a couple things that I want to respond to and try to get this idea out. One is, you said show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities or something to that effect. I heard this podcast of this business owner where his whole company knew every Thursday at 3. Every Thursday at 3 he was off the rest of the day, and it was like a scheduled date night with his wife. And part of the reason for this situation is like they had young kids,
Right.
really difficult on the weekends and other things you're committed to. And he went on to sort of, maybe this was in a book actually, but he went on to kind of outline like the opportunities that he missed, or people that needed to schedule at that time with him, but he always said no. And I loved hearing that, because I thought, like, realizing like he was going to prioritize his spouse in this moment every week, and she could rely on his commitment to prioritizing. And of course, life happens, things happen, kids get sick, whatever.
Of
But
course.
to prioritize that versus this constant feeling that I sometimes feel when life is out of whack and I'm prioritizing work over and over and over again. It's like, oh, we had this thing planned, but like this new opportunity came in, like I got to do this meeting. That's got to be the worst thing for the, I mean, because I've received that. Like I've heard that before. You've been on the receiving end of that kind of news where you have something planned that you're excited for. And then the other person tells you, like, I'm really sorry. It didn't work out. I have to reschedule. That's not always, that's not a fun feeling. And so I loved hearing that. So show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities. That's an important takeaway. I love I keep going back to this whole like spontaneity equals freedom for me because I love spontaneous moments. Everybody does. Spontaneous moments
Yep.
are just the greatest feeling. We have had times as families, like the your family and my family, where we get together and it's like we're gonna hang out in the backyard on the patio. It's a nice night out. We're gonna do the fire pit. We're gonna roast marshmallows, make s'mores, eat Huey Magoo's, and we
Oh,
have
love
truly
it.
some of the best moments. And then I look back on those and I'm like, oh man, I want to do that again. Like I want to bottle that and I want to do that again. Or we take the kids to Disney on a random Thursday because my calendar cleared and a client canceled and I now can, and we go and we have this magic that only Disney can provide sometimes with young kids. And it's this purely magical day. And the way that I think about the scheduled spontaneity thing is like, I want to I want to give myself the reps to have those opportunities. Will things work out that way? No. Like we've gone to Disney before and it rains on us the whole time and everyone's grumpy and it's not fun. But if I keep giving myself the at bats, I get to have more of those opportunities of these spontaneous, just pure joy. Like that's the best way I can describe it is like
Mm.
you look back on the event and you're like, that was perfect. Everything worked out and it was just joyous from the start to the end. And planning for that creates that space for that to happen. If you don't, you'll never even put yourself in the situation for those things to potentially occur.
You know what occurs to me right now as we're talking about this? When meaning you as the individual, so John or Rich, when we plan spontaneity, it doesn't mean that for everybody else it's planned. Think about that. So I plan into my calendar to take Ava to go see a movie, but I don't have to tell her that. So then on Saturday, when she's just sitting there on her iPad and I roll up and go, "Hey, you want to eat a bunch of candy and popcorn and go see a movie with dad?" And she like pops up and goes, "Yeah." For her, it was spontaneous. If I
Yes.
do that, like I jokingly said, buy a dress and lay it out and do like the, pretty woman thing, like, the movie and do like all the fancy stuff for Dawn, for me, it's completely planned. I've factored it, this quote unquote spontaneity. I've planned it into my day. But for her, it doesn't feel that way. If I take
Hmm.
Luke to go shopping for some new sneakers because he's doing a great job or he's getting great grades or whatever. So it occurs to me that when we as an individual, quote unquote, plan spontaneity into our calendar, certainly we might be involving another person, like you're telling your significant other, hey, we're doing this on Friday, whatever. But there also is the side of it where it's only really planned for you, but for the other people, they still get that gift, that excitement of that new experience. Like you probably don't tell Ella and Huddy the day, maybe you do, but I'm sure there's times you go, guess where we're going today? We're going to Universal, and then there's the surprise and there's the excitement. So that just occurred to me that this whole idea as you were speaking, I thought, you know what? Just because I'm planning it doesn't mean it feels planned for somebody else. Life is so short. John talks all the time. He's got young kids, as he just said. I've got 25-year-old, 14-year-old, and believe it or not, just in a few days, John, 9 years old. This will be Ava's last year in single digits. Talk about time going by fast. And John's got little kids, and he more than anyone I know says, "Oh my god, I feel like the time's going by so fast." And I chuckle to myself because your kids are babies compared to my kids. I look at my oldest, and I'm like, he's 5 years away from 30. But I can remember
Crazy.
him being in a car seat. You can remember Rhett coming to your house, or you're paying him $20 to weed your backyard when he was like 12. I mean, that's how long we've
He
known
told
each
me that I
other.
was the best boss he ever had. That was so
He,
sweet. That was
he
such a nice compliment.
He did say that. Time goes by fast. And because it goes by fast, sometimes you just got to plan. Sometimes you've got to build into your life the moments that matter. Sometimes you have to structure your life so that you are focused on what gives you purpose. Sometimes in life, we have to schedule when we're going to serve the people that we care about and the people that we love. And this certainly can have something to do with work. This I know for a
Yeah.
fact at Candor Path, you guys do some fun things and some team building and do all that kind of stuff. And I know it's probably not super spontaneous, it's super planned, but the excitement of the day and the fun of the day and the team building of the day is super important. I think that's what great leaders do. Great leaders create inspiration and fun, and sometimes inspiration and fun comes from spontaneity. So, I mean, that's where I
I
kind of want to like,
yeah,
think about this.
it's cool because I was actually going to and ready to switch gears to the work thing in the same regard that you just shared, but actually with hearing what you said, it's important to recognize that what you plan can feel spontaneous for someone else,
Yes.
whether that's your spouse or family member or child, whatever. And the law of reciprocity would probably suggest that if you take the intentional time to do something like that for them, that they'll probably do something like that for you. And so you get the opportunity to actually have some of these truly spontaneous moments when maybe you didn't even know of it. I always see like the videos where it's like, so someone I know actually posted this, and I'm not going to name names, but I saw this on social media the other day, and I don't know what the context was, but she was like, woke up and found plane tickets on the dresser, and my spouse and I are going to like Paris or something. Like I don't know where they were going, but like this whole idea, like she thought they were like just taking the day, like the weekend, like a long weekend, and then this person surprised her with the most spontaneous, cool thing. And Rich and I are looking at each other now as I'm saying this, thinking like, "Crap, we got to step up our game. We got to
Yeah.
step up our game." But point is, I think the law of reciprocity exists there. Like if you plan those for other people around you, that you'll be the recipient of some spontaneous planning too. And I just think that that's a beautiful thing.
The two great I agree. The two greatest gifts that we can give to the people that we care about, to the people that we lead, to the people that we love, those two things are our time and our energy. And sometimes our time and our energy have to be planned. They have to be scheduled because you know when you have time, you know in a calendar when you're going to have time. And you also know from habit when and what time of day and what day a week your energy under normal circumstances is going to be maximized. And that's the greatest gift. And there's some easy ways to do it. Before we let you go, here's some easy ways to do it. You know your significant other has a cup of coffee at 1 p.m. every day. They work from home. Maybe you work from home, or maybe you come home for lunch, or whatever the case may be. So you know what? Go to the coffee maker at 12:57 and you make the cup of coffee and you walk over to them and go, here's your 1 o'clock cup of coffee. I love you. That can make a difference. You know that when you come home from work, you haven't seen your kids all day and you're exhausted and you're tired, but your kids miss you. And so you say to your daughter or to your son or to both, hey, why don't we go for a walk around the block and let's play a game? Let's look at the clouds and let's try to see who can find the craziest shape in a cloud and see what it looks like. That could be spontaneous, that could be amazing, but you can schedule it in your day. For
Mm-hmm.
one of your coworkers at work that you really appreciate, you plan on a Wednesday, you just write gratitude on a Wednesday. And every Wednesday, you're going to recognize or give a thank you note or say something kind or give a gift card or buy a snack from the vending machine for somebody that you appreciate and just hand them a Snickers bar and say, I just want you to know I love working with you. You always have my back. You always make my day. I just wanted to say thank you. That will feel spontaneous to those people. Yet that's something that you can schedule in your day. And here, speaking of the gift and the law of reciprocity, you're giving yourself the greatest gift. Because when you do good for others, when you do kindness for others, when you give love to others, you end up feeling better. It improves your immunity, it improves your mindset, and it makes you a better person. What do you think about that?
I'm really happy that you made this actionable and gave some of those tips, because I think for anyone listening to this could look at this and just say, "Yeah, but I'm too busy. Life is too hard. Life is," and it is. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm busier than you or anybody. I don't think I'm busier, but I would say I'm as busy as anyone or most people listening. And it's important to find this as a priority to do this, because I get the opportunity to work with retirees all day long. I get this very unique perspective, and I think most of us that are in this phase of life where it's just busy and kids and tired and work, that we could just use this we could operate under this false narrative of like, well, I'll just wait till retirement. Like I'll get to be spontaneous from retirement. You're not promised tomorrow. And you know,
Nope.
like that's the thing that hurts my heart so much is I see people work that extra few years to have a few more bucks in the bank, and then they get diagnosed with an illness. We just experienced that this past year, and
I'm
and
sorry.
and it's so sad seeing that happen to people, and it breaks my heart for them. We do all the right planning in the world, but you know what you can't plan for? Your last day on earth. And it's just it's an eye opener for me to realize if I wait until I retire to do the things that I'm talking about, to live spontaneously, like that's not what I want to do. So that's an important message. I'm glad that you shared that, because I think someone could listen to this and say easier said than done, or yeah, but I'm busy, and
Well, think
we
about
all
this.
are.
Not to be and not to upset you or whatever, but how old was your dad when he passed away?
66.
And my dad was 59. I'm 56 years old. So 3
Yeah.
years from where I'm sitting right now, if I lived my dad's lifespan, I'd be gone. 3 years from today. 59 years old. And your dad was 66, super young.
Hmm.
And Matt's dad, I don't remember how old Matt's dad was, but he
About the
was
same age as mine. Yeah.
about the same age as yours. Definitely younger than the average retirement age.
Hmm.
So, to your point, life is short. People matter. Those around us that we care about matter. And if you put them on your calendar, if you put them in your schedule, if you build it into your day, it's going to have that effect. It will feel spontaneous for them. It will feel good for you. And I can attest to the fact of how busy John is. And especially as much as I travel the last couple of months, John can attest to the fact how busy I am. And if anything, I'm using this podcast to kind of double down and to recommit to doing more of this, because this is reminding me how important this is. I'm humbled.
Same.
I'm humbled to be even thinking about that. So thanks for spending this time with me, John. I love this. I love having this conversation.
It was a blast. It was a
All right.
blast. And speaking of
So
scheduled
yeah,
spontaneity, we're going to have some spontaneous conversations at the next one.
we
I've got
are.
some would you rathers. I'm not going to do it today, but
We're not doing
next
would you
podcast.
rather's today. Okay. All right.
You
We'll
want
save.
to?
We'll
Wait, no. Hold on. No.
oh,
It's
oh,
this is
oh,
going to be spontaneous. Stand
oh.
by.
Okay. Hold on.
I'm gonna do one. Let's do one for each other. I'm gonna ask you one. You ask me one. That's how we're gonna wrap. So the
Okay.
one that I want to ask you, and because this is scheduled spontaneity, these are already written out. So it's spontaneous in that we're doing it, but we already know the questions. I'm going to ask you this one. Would you rather have the ability to teleport anywhere or to be able to time travel?
Time travel.
Hmm.
Of course, because then I could go in the future and look at Powerball numbers and Super Bowl
Yeah.
wins. I could watch every baseball game and piss you off and make bets with you and say, third inning, he's going to strike so and so out. You're going to go, no way. You'll be like, how do you know so much about sports? All of it. Yes, time travel for sure.
Okay.
And look, I went right to making I went right to Powerball. I'm so sketchy. Okay, ready? Would
Yes.
you rather be would you
I'm
rather
nervous.
be super strong or unbelievably attractive?
Unbelievably attractive.
That is not what I expected you to say.
I know. That's why I said it, because I'm spontaneous and you just never know what you're going to get from me.
I think you are. I kind of got to say, for those of you that ever watch any of this on, I don't know if we put this on YouTube that much anymore. John is a very good looking guy. So the fact that you would want to be super,
Because it's like, what's the utility in me being super strong? I sit like my
seriously,
some days my level of fitness is standing at my stand up desk.
you don't think the way I do. You don't have the evil thing. If I was like super strong, even at my age right now, I would go to the combine at the NFL and I would start lifting up 800 pounds and throwing it up in the air. And they'd be like, who is this old man that's like beating everybody? And I'd get signed to be like, who's the big guy in the center of the football field that pushes everybody? The
The
quarterback?
center,
The dude, the quarterback. Yeah, the center.
like a
I'd get like
lineman.
$1 million deals to be a lineman and just like throw these gigantic people up in the air.
And I'd get
Totally.
$1 million deals being the next Brad Pitt and being
Oh,
a
that's
supermodel.
true.
If I
That's
was extremely,
true.
how did you define it? If I was extremely attractive, that swings both ways.
Unbelievably,
And
like unimaginably attractive or unimaginably strong. Let's say that. So you would choose
financial
attractive.
opportunities exist in either one of those realms.
I love how we go to, I'm buying Powerball and you're going to get signed to Ford Modeling Agency. Oh my gosh. All right. Listen, this has been a lot of fun and I'm always super grateful to be able to spend this time. I want to say as we wrap this up, a sincere thank you to all of you for being part of this amazing podcast. Thank you for getting us to over 50,000 downloads. Please like, please share, please let us know. And until the next time, please take care of yourself in a spontaneous way. Have an amazing day. Thanks, guys. Be well.